Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. It's the New York Mets against the Cincinnati Reds. New York Mets baseball and SNY is brought to you by Jeep and the unique brand of freedom you'll only find in the full line of Jeep vehicles. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. By Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. And by Budweiser, always on deck, this Bud's for you. It is a beautiful day in Cincinnati out on the Ohio River. Now also, you can come to the ballpark. It's a good day here at Great American Ballpark. The rich history of the Reds. Catcher Johnny Bench, the Hall of Famer. Or bring the kids out to the park. Might be one of the last days that the kids can go to the ballpark before school begins around the country. Alongside Ron Darling, I'm Wayne Randazzo in today for Gary Cohen. And Ron, yesterday we saw a brilliant effort from Rafael Montero.
It really was. It was a thing of beauty to watch. You know, it's been a culmination of a lot of hard work for Rafael Montero. He went through a period where he really was at his worst, but he decided to start working on keeping the ball down in the strike zone. His slider, his changeup have consistently been down the last 4 starts. And when he does get ahead of hitters, he's been able to strike them out by elevating his fastball. That has really been the difference for Montero, probably last night's game being the tipping point for his career, getting the ball into the 9th inning. You can see his last 4 starts, ERA just a shade over 2. All the numbers starting to be what the Mets thought they would be when he first came to the major leagues.
And today the Mets will try to get a series victory behind their ace, Jacob deGrom. Will look for his 15th win here today.
Nationals, and his biorhythms must be great during the day because his ERA for his career during day games is 1.88.
That's the best in Major League Baseball history, and the Mets will try to ride deGrom to a series win here in Cincinnati. We'll have the Mets and the Reds coming up. /Delta Dugout for details. Be at Citi Field on Saturday, September 9th, when the Mets take on the Cincinnati Reds at 7:10 p.m. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a Mets fleece blanket, courtesy of the Northwest Company. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. Let's take a drive around the majors, presented by Audi. Ian Happ with his 20th home run for the Cubs in a blowout over the Pirates. Robbie Ray with his 7th game of 10 or more strikeouts this season. The Dodgers have lost 4 in a row, a season high for them. And Albert Pujols ties Jim Thome for the 7th most home runs in history, number 612 last night. The Angels still 1 game behind the Twins for the second wild card in the American League. We'll have the rubber game of our series in Cincinnati as the Mets take on the Reds. First pitch and starting lineups coming up. The order, he's back in there today and batting second. Brandon Nimmo, the cleanup hitter, and Travis Tyrone gets a start in right field this afternoon.
You see the Toyota numbers for Robert Stevenson. He's in the rotation now from Martinez, California, which is about 20-25 miles northeast of San Francisco. Had 8 games started in 2016. He was their #1 pick seasons ago. Defensively for the Reds, this afternoon's game, Coors Light. Kivlahan gets a start in left field. Hamilton and Schebler around in the outfield. Suarez, Peraza gets the start. Cozart sits down. Jeanette and Votto on the right side. And Stuart Turner getting a start. We're really impressed by Tucker Barnhart the last 2 evenings.
Barnhart is out today because he's on paternity leave. Billy Hamilton back in center field for the Reds, Gold Glove caliber outfielder, and we saw Phillip Ervin be unable to track down some balls early last night that Hamilton probably would have caught. Yeah, Hamilton outruns the baseball. I wouldn't say that he is a premier center fielder like Lagares is, but he just has so much speed, he outruns the baseball. Jose Reyes will get it going for the Mets here this afternoon against the right-hander Robert Stevenson. who struck out 11 in his last start. He fanned the first 6 hitters in that game. He was making a bid for Jacob deGrom's record of 8 straight strikeouts to start a game.
11 strikeouts and only got 17 outs in the game, so pretty impressive.
He's got good stuff. He throws really hard. He's been working on a slider this year. It's a pitch that he just started using in spring training, and it's developed into a pretty good pitch just recently, the last couple of starts, which he's won. Jose Reyes has been on a roll. To see Stevenson from Martinez, as Ron said, the hometown of Joe DiMaggio.
Oh, that's right.
We are underway in Cincinnati with Jose Reyes taking strike 1.
Martinez is an interesting town. When it was first formed, it was on the bay there, so a lot of immigrants from Italy and Sicily and Greece ended up being fishermen in that little town of Martinez.
Reyes shoots one toward the gap. Hamilton won't be able to track this one down as it one hops and goes over the fence in left center field. So for the 3rd game in a row in this series, Jose Reyes is aboard to start it.
Well, the Mets had doubles on their mind in last night's game. 3 of them came in the first inning when they scored the only 2 runs of the game. And nice hitting by Reyes. Ball supposed to be in, leaked back over the plate and hit it where it was, one hopping and over the fence.
15th time Reyes has been on base in his last 26 plate appearances. And the Mets with a chance to strike first, as they have in each of the first 2 games of this series. Ahmed Rosario looks at a strike.
It's nice the Mets have some speed. Last night the youngster Brandon Nimmo, hitting second, wasn't able to advance Reyes. Let's see if the youngster Rosario is able to situational hit here in the first.
Rosario will move Reyes over as the shortstop Peraza throws out Rosario, but only by a step. 1 out, and now the table set with Reyes on the doorstep as Asdrubal Cabrera will get an RBI chance. Cabrera drove in Reyes in the first inning 2 days ago.
Little winning baseball there by Mr. Rosario. He'll get some high fives in the dugout. That's kind of how you're supposed to play the game. Sometimes the youngsters will lead you.
Reyes and Rosario at the top run. Some speed at the beginning of the order for the Mets today. Infield comes in for the Reds as Cabrera stands in. Cabrera's been hitting the ball well lately. 7 for his last 20, 6 RBIs in his last 6 games. They should get an RBI here. This one backs up Schebler. He makes the catch. Reyes able to come in from third. 7th RBI in the last 7 games now for Cabrera, and a 1-0 Mets lead.
Well, that certainly didn't take long.
Get him on, get him over, get him in. It's the way to go.
As good as it gets. Nice job by Cabrera not allowing Stevenson to get into that count. Just jumped all over that first fastball.
So now Brandon Nimmo hitting cleanup. I talked to Terry Collins before the game today. He kind of agreed with what you said yesterday about Nimmo and his power. The reason why he's been able to be as good a hitter as he is that he hits line drives, gets a lot of backspin on the ball. They don't really necessarily need him to develop into a big-time power hitter.
You know, that being said, with Conforto season for next year iffy at best right now, the #1 pick Nimmo, you expect him to be a good, viable, everyday player. He hasn't proven that yet.
A changeup by Stevenson to get ahead of Nimmo. We haven't heard officially how the second opinion went for Conforto, but it seems pretty clear that surgery is going to need to be happening for Conforto to repair that left shoulder. The Mets believe it will be a roughly 6-month timetable as far as the recovery for the surgery. So if it happens relatively soon, could see Conforto back in spring training. Full count now on Nimmo for Stevenson. This is an opportunity for him to show the Reds what he can do down the stretch. Getting his 6th big league start this year. This was only the 2nd time he's allowed a run in the 1st inning.
Both these teams are in tryout camp mode for pitchers and players as they try to figure out who's going to be important for their ball club next year.
Saw Terry Collins, maybe both of these managers wondering about next year. Reds have a team option on Brian Price. Terry Collins' contract is up. And Brandon Nimmo is down to end the top of the 1st. Robert Stevenson gets his first strikeout, but the Mets get a run and a 1-0 lead for Jacob deGrom. Getting their first starts of the series. Stuart Turner behind the plate as well, and Joey Votto will bat 3rd against Jacob deGrom.
You know, this offseason, my pick for Cy Young was Jacob deGrom. You see his Land Rover numbers. Probably going to fall a little short, but he's definitely going to be in the top 5 discussion for the Cy Young.
Could reach a new career high in wins and strikeouts today. He had 205 strikeouts in 2015. Needs 5 to get past that as Billy Hamilton leads off.
Interesting, as the pitch was coming, Dominic Smith was running in from first base. He had been playing back. Certainly can't play back on Hamilton.
deGrom had 10 strikeouts in his last start, 7 2/3 innings in a victory against Washington. You see the infield alignment, the corners in. Try to take that bunt away from Hamilton. Dominic Smith played perfectly in this instance. A one-hopper right to him for out number 1.
Defensively, Lexus defense for the Mets. Nimmo in left, Lagares and Tyrone in right field. 3 outfielders in the outfield today. Cabrera, Rosario, Reyes, and Dominic Smith, who just made that play. And Travis d'Arnaud back behind the plate, working with deGrom.
Jose Peraza, the batter. You know, we talked yesterday about potential September call-ups. The Mets still don't really have an outfielder they can rely on. So Peraza takes a strike. Travis Snider's a AAA veteran player. That's really the only potential outfielder the Mets could add after September 1st that's on the roster. Peraza giving Zach Cozart a spell. And Jacob deGrom makes short work of him.
Well, don't be surprised if this is a big strikeout game for deGrom this afternoon. This ball club does not swing very well on the pitch up in the strike zone. If deGrom can get ahead of hitters, he's going to see a lot of this.
Well, that brings up Joey Votto, and here's an all-star matchup to watch. deGrom against Votto. The Mets pitchers have actually struck out Joey Votto more than any team. Votto's strikeout rate against the Mets at its peak compared to other National League opponents. And there's 2 quick strikes from deGrom. Votto's not going to have much bat left if he keeps choking up. Look at that.
He's got like a kid's bat.
Somehow makes contact. Cabrera makes the play, and Jacob deGrom with a 1-2-3, bottom of the first. deGrom looking strong early here in Cincinnati. Night, every device. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live. Plus, get a free subscription to At-Bat Premium. Blackout and other restrictions apply. MLB.tv for details. Travis d'Arnaud goes after the first pitch, and he has a base hit to start this second.
Well, you see a lot of this in day games. After a night game, hitters are swinging first pitch very aggressive, and it results in a hit for d'Arnaud. Medium leg kick by d'Arnaud, and good job of staying on top of that baseball.
So now Dominic Smith gets a chance against Stevenson. Smith was hitless yesterday after a couple of hits in the ball game on Tuesday. Average at 172. Not a big walk guy, at least not yet at the major league level. On base percentage still under 200. It was a good year at AAA certainly for Dominic Smith, but he lost out on the PCL Rookie of the Year award to Ahmed Rosario.
So Las Vegas had the rookie of the year, the backup rookie of the year, and they finishing 30 games under 500.
As everybody else, I guess.
Whoa.
Not a great season for Pedro Lopez's gang out in Vegas. The season will end next week. Big shift on the infield with Smith up. Surprised to see that this early for Dom Smith?
I am. You know, I know they do have numbers from the minor leagues, these major league teams. I'm surprised because of the kind of hitter that I think Dominic Smith is going to be, and that's a guy that hits from line to line. But if he's started to think about just hitting the ball in the air, then he's going to be more pull on the ground.
You start Darno with 3-2 here?
No.
Short lead for Darno. Not running. And Smith takes ball 4. So there's the rare base on balls for Dominic Smith as he walks for just the 3rd time as a major leaguer.
I think that's the highlight of my analyst career right there when he asked me if Darno's running. My answer was profound. No. With no explanation. Nothing. Was total on a whim.
And you were right.
50% chance.
Be great at coin tosses.
There you go.
The Mets have something brewing with Juan Lagares at the plate.
Wouldn't be an awful time for Lagares to try one of his patented bunts. Move the runners up. Popped up to the catcher yesterday trying to bunt.
Lagares hitless in this series after a good set against Washington. And 7 for 19 against the Nationals. A couple of doubles in that series, drove in a few runs. The Mets want to see Juan Lagares hit a little bit more consistently, especially against right-handed pitching. You've seen him do well against lefties. Nice job by Turner. These Reds catchers block everything.
Breaking ball before the plate. Most catchers in the major leagues, but we've seen the Reds here before the game, they go through a whole routine of working on blocking the balls and keeping them in front. The Reds catchers have been better than most in this series.
Quote of the game from Johnny Bench: a catcher and his body are like the outlaw and his horse. He's got to ride that nag till it drops.
That's why Johnny at the end played some third base, some outfield.
Our Investors Bank quote of the game: banking in your best interest. Lagares wiped out by the Stevenson slider. First out of the inning, Johnny Bench, 10 Gold Gloves in his career, 2 MVP awards, of course 2 World Series championships, regarded as the greatest catcher of all time, especially for a guy who could hit as well as he did and defend as well as he did.
Well, I consider him the greatest of all time. I know there's been some amazing guys that have been great defensive catchers, great offensive catchers like Mike Piazza went in the Hall of Fame, Pudge Rodriguez went this year, but none the complete package as Bench was.
So Bench is number 5, right next to Frank Robinson's number 20. Today is Frank Robinson's birthday.
That's right, 82 years young.
Another great player. They just turned out Hall of Famers year after year, especially back then. The big red machine. As we see what Frank Robinson accomplished over the course of his career, so long that he played, won the Triple Crown in 1966. Bounced around a little bit for a guy that was that good and in that era before free agency, really.
Well, he won the MVP with the Reds, and the owner, Bill DeWitt, before he traded him to the Baltimore Orioles, said that Frank Robinson was an old 30. So all Frank did when he went over to the Baltimore Orioles is hit for the Triple Crown, won the MVP, and won the World Series to let Mr. DeWitt know he was wrong.
Milt Pappas, was it worth it?
No. No.
Travis Tyrone still looking for his first big league hit. Tyrone has struck out 4 times in his first 9 big league at bats. Known to punch out quite a bit. And there's another strikeout for Tyrone. Back-to-back Ks for Stevenson after the first 2 Mets reached here in the second.
Just a perfect slider. I mean, this is how you draw it up when you're throwing in the bullpen. It's exactly how you want it. That right, beautiful drop and late right on the corner.
A chance for Jacob deGrom to swing the bat, which we know he can, batting .230 this year. His first home run earlier this season. He went too far on that check swing. Darno started this inning with a single. Dominic Smith drew a walk, but Stevenson, with 11 strikeouts in his last start, actually punched out 9 against the Mets when he faced them on Labor Day last year. That was his career high until he faced Pittsburgh last week. If you remember that Labor Day game, Matt Reynolds flew basically overnight to get here to be put right in the lineup. Had 3 hits and a home run that day off of Stevenson. Stevenson ahead of deGrom now. Kelly Johnson hit a home run that day off of Stevenson. That was just not even a year ago. A little more than a year ago. That seems like a long time ago, doesn't it?
It does. Especially with the last 2 seasons being so productive as they have been for the Mets, and then this year kind of a forgettable one.
deGrom goes the other way. Kivlahan backs up to make the catch. And the side retire. Mets had something going for a while. 2 on, nobody out, but they don't score in the second. In position to do so after Rafael Montero's brilliant performance last night. For more on that, here is Steve Gilms.
Well, Wayne, there was so much talk after last night's performance about his changeup. Threw it 40 times, so effective last night. It was about a third of the pitches that Montero did throw. And we've seen the changeup look very different this year from Montero than at any point in the past. And that's because he's completely reworked it with a different grip. And this offseason in the Dominican Republic really changed everything. He used to have a traditional circle changeup grip, which used three fingers, really, the middle finger, ring finger, and pinky finger, but switched to just using the middle finger and the ring finger this offseason. And that's why you've seen more of a power change now, where the ball is a couple miles per hour faster than it was in the past, and also has that extra movement more down in the zone, mimicking the sinker almost, which is something that's really throwing hitters off at this point.
Eugenio Suarez grounds in the hole. Rosario with the long throw, but Smith couldn't dig it out. Suarez is safe, and the Reds have their leadoff man on here in the second.
Well, Rosario did everything right. Got rid of the ball quick. It just ended up being on the short hop for Dominic Smith. He couldn't do much more than he tried to do. The ball kind of skipped on him and hit him on the heel of the glove. Good try on both ends.
Now Scooter Gennett will stand in as the hop just rolled up a little too high for Smith. Great effort by Rosario. Some interesting stuff there, Rafael Montero, and the usage of his changeup. Threw a bunch of them yesterday.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of a number like 40, other than when you're talking about a guy like Tommy Glavine or someone like that who's not an overpowering pitcher.
You know, the really interesting part about this, though, is why Montero decided to make that switch. He went home to the Dominican Republic in the offseason and has an older brother down there who's really a mentor to him, someone that was actually signed by the Dodgers in 2000. And his brother essentially told him, if you don't figure out how to throw an effective changeup, you're never going to pitch successfully in the major leagues. So he decided to tinker with his grip and remembered a piece of advice he got from Luis Mateo, who was a teammate of his last year in AAA, who suggested trying this grip. Last year, Montero didn't feel comfortable with it, but worked on it hard this offseason, and it's ultimately paid dividends.
That ball is ripped by Gennett. Back to the gap and over the fence. A home run for Scooter Gennett. Just a high line drive that never sunk off the bat of Gennett. His 23rd home run gives the Reds a 2-1 lead.
Well, really, the only Achilles heel for Jacob deGrom all season long has been the home run ball, and that's affected almost every pitcher in the majors. That's his 25th home run allowed, which is a pretty big number. Gennett, who has become a home run hitter this year, historic day with 4 home runs in 1 game, and hits one in his first at bat this year against deGrom.
20 of Gennett's 23 home runs have come off of right-handed pitching. You mentioned deGrom's 25 homers. He'd never given up more than 16 in a season until this year. There's Scott Schebler. He has 26 home runs. Says he'd like to hit 30 just because he never has before in his pro career. Got to 28 once at AA.
The ball usually flies here in the afternoon on a beautiful humid day.
Reyes back in the outfield with the shift. Schebler tries to go against it, but got it to Rosario instead. That's the first out. Well, not too much room down the lines for pitchers in this ballpark. 325 to right, 328 to left. Gap's a little bit bigger, but the ball carries well here.
Yeah, the dimensions to me are very fair, but the ball just jumps, you know, and you can't explain that. The ball in Riverfront Stadium, the old stadium before this one, used to jump also, especially in day games.
Patrick Kivalahan takes ball 1. You saw the power stacks out there in right center field. There's 7 bats on each one, totaling 14. That's an ode to Pete Rose.
supposed to keep that quiet, Wayne.
Oh,
people aren't supposed to know that. It's kind of a secret thing.
It's just an industry. There it is. 14 of them. Count them yourself.
You know, that's like an Illuminati kind of thing. You're not supposed to let people know.
Man, nobody told me. That's new guy stuff. Gary will be back Saturday, by the way. The Mets will be in Houston for that day-night doubleheader against the Astros, and I'll return to the WOR Mets radio booth with Howie. And a 4-pitch walk puts Kivlahan on with 1 out. Buick Road ahead. There's Gary Cohen in cartoon form. Keith will be working with Gary in Houston. Ron, you're back for Labor Day against the Phillies on Monday.
Yes, red eye straight to Citi Field. I'll be there about 7:30 in the morning, ready to go. 18 cups of coffee later, we should get through the game.
Nice early start coming off the road trip. It is a holiday after all as Stuart Turner bats. This is something that he hasn't done much of this year. This is Turner's 61st plate appearance. He's been on the roster pretty much the entire season, save for some DL time.
Yeah, he's taken this backup catcher role to a new art form.
Well, he's actually been a third catcher most of the year because Devin Mesoraco has been in there. So they just kind of stashed Turner on the roster because he's a Rule 5 guy.
That's right. Makes sense.
And Turner strikes out as DeGrom has his second of the day. Jacob DeGrom, number 203 on the season, trying to get to 10 games this year with 10 or more strikeouts. Only Tom Seaver and Dwight Gooden have ever done that. Gooden in 84 and 85, Seaver in 70 and 71. So DeGrom really trying to join a very exclusive group of Mets.
You know, I gave you those numbers of DeGrom during the day in his career ERA 1.88, but it's been more pedestrian for him this year. The numbers are 2 and 3 with an ERA in the 3s for day games for DeGrom.
Robert Stevenson grounds Rosario's way. He'll take it to the bag at second to retire the side. A 2-run homer by Scooter Gennett gives the Reds a 2-1 lead. Through the 17th for 3 unforgettable nights of music. The star-studded lineup includes Jay-Z, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Gorillaz, Future, Nas, Weezer, and more. Purchase tickets at themeadowsnyc.com. Big Gorillas guy, Ron?
Yeah, big Gorillas. I'll be there. I'll be there.
That'll be September 16th when they play of the 3 days.
3 days of music. What?
That is Gorillas with a Z.
Let's do some trivia.
Verizon. Our trivia question: who are the 4 players since 1931 to win the National League MVP as a second baseman?
One of them was here last night and did the ball game for the Cincinnati Reds on television.
Red. There's a former Cub in there. That's all the hints we're giving you. You're on your own for the other 2, or even if you don't know those 2. Those were just hints. Jose Reyes starts this 3rd inning against Robert Stevenson. Double and a run scored in the first for Reyes. Doing what you want your leadoff man to do in the first 3 games of this series: score runs. Reyes has come across 9 times in his last 8 games. Reyes playing second base tonight. We've seen him scatter around in this series. Played the outfield in the opening game of this series. Got the start in left field. First career start in the outfield. Did something rarely done. As the count goes to 2-1. Reyes became the first player to make his first outfield start after more than 1,700 career games since Alan Trammell did it in 1993.
Ask anyone who played with or against Alan Trammell, the most accurate arm in the history of the game from shortstop, and I'm not using hyperbole there. Chest high throw every single time.
He a Hall of Famer in your eyes?
Yes. Yes, he is.
Jose Reyes on base for the 2nd time. A leadoff walk here in the 3rd will bring up Ahmed Rosario. We touched on it briefly in the 1st inning, but with Reyes and Rosario back to back, a rare 1-2 speed combo for the Mets at the top of the order. How can they utilize that in a spot like this?
Well, I think that they can do some hit and running. Last night it looked like Reyes really wanted to run the bases. You know, he's been thrown out a couple times in this series, has stolen 1 base.
Rosario goes after the first pitch and gives Scooter Gennett a put out. One away.
You know, the problem you have is that you have a free swinger, Rosario. The guy who usually bats second when a fast runner is on base is meant to take a couple of pitches, allow the runner to steal. But Reyes usually doesn't steal till later in the count anyways. Rosario, with that free swinging style, makes an out on the first pitch.
Cabrera with a sac fly, his first time. Today's the day. We'll find out if Cabrera is going to end up on a team in the playoff chase or not. We've talked about the Diamondbacks' need for a middle infielder, Cleveland's need. Nobody's pulled the trigger yet. Nice job by Turner to keep Reyes at first.
What a stop. I mean, these breaking balls from Stevenson barely would make the plate in Williamsport. I mean, they're bouncing 10 feet before the plate.
Little League weekend it's over.
Oh, that's right.
Get over it.
Some kids laughing, other kids crying. That's the whole week.
Reyes chased back. Did you enjoy the Players Weekend?
I did. You know, I have to be honest. I thought I would not like it because I found the uniforms kind of hard to look at. But the guys had a lot of fun. I thought, you know, a lot of thought was put into the names on the back and their nicknames. But I thought the shoe wear was amazing. Some of the thought that went into that. And, you know, it was a weekend where I think it ended up playing nicely for the young fans of the game.
Reyes has a big lead. He's running. And Cabrera with a base hit. Reyes takes off for third. Schebler's throw goes that way. Reyes beats it. And the Mets use the hit and run to perfection.
Reyes had that big lead. He did not look in, so I think he was on a straight steal, and Cabrera put the ball in play with a sharp hit to right field. See, he doesn't look in until after he hears the crack of the bat. Identified where the ball was. Usually you can get that answer from your third base coach and goes first to third.
So now an RBI chance for Brandon Nimmo. That's off the pitcher. Votto almost threw it home. Now tries to get Nimmo, and everybody's safe. A run scores. The game is tied. Nimmo gets an RBI, and hopefully Robert Stevenson is okay.
That one got him good.
They give Nimmo a base hit, and the run batted in while Stevenson gets looked at.
Just the bullet off the bat of Nimmo right back through the box, and it caught Stevenson right on the hip. He wasn't able to get his glove up in time. Now the carom goes to Votto. He's got to be smarter than this because he's such a good defensive player. No reason to come home and try to get Reyes. Just make sure you get an out at first, and he did neither. I mean, I had it off his right hip. I'm not sure now. I think Votto underestimated, the speed of Brandon Nimmo.
And Votto pretty indecisive there. Stevenson actually got hurt earlier this month diving for a bunt. Bruised his shoulder. He missed a week and a half because of it. Pitchers have to keep in mind sometimes they're in the field of play. They're part of the defense once that ball's let go.
Well, the trainer's asking him questions to make sure that he's all right to go. It seems like he's throwing the ball hard, but he's still kind of kick-starting that right side. Well, when you're trying to win a spot in the rotation for next season, I think you got to stay in there, don't you?
Absolutely. Brian Price even said recently with regard to Stevenson, there is nothing set in stone for next season. There are other guys in AAA they'd like to get a look at too. Tyler Mahle made his debut Sunday, so with Luis Castillo pitching the way he is, all the money locked into Homer Bailey. Plus we saw 2 days ago Sal Romano looking good for a third straight start, so there's competition within the Reds' young starting pitchers. A run home for the Mets in the third. Now Travis d'Arnaud singled his first time. As the Mets look to get the lead back. Good slider by Stevenson. That's a pitch that he wasn't even throwing until this year. Used it sparingly early on. He's started to rack up the usage of that pitch ever since.
Well, we watch these games all year long, and I'm going to ask all of you guys, the truck included, Travis d'Arnaud changed his stance? Never remember him being as crouched or as open as he is right now.
He tinkers with his stance and his swing a lot. I remember early on in spring training this year when d'Arnaud was hitting everything in sight. He found it. This was it. This was where he was going to be. He had a good place for his hands. The swing was right. And then at some point it just seems like it gets lost as the season goes on and he goes back to the drawing board. Ground ball. Nice pick by Suarez. Goes to second and gets the out. Eugenio Suarez has gone 49 consecutive games without an error. Longest streak by a Reds third baseman since Tony Fernandez in 1994. He makes a sweet play here.
Well, we came on 2 nights ago talking about how underrated Suarez is, and that jump throw on one hop and scooped up by Jeanette, as good a play as you're going to see, because he knew what he wanted to do with the ball before it was hit to him.
You see the streak for Suarez, a former shortstop in the Tigers farm system before he got traded to Cincinnati, became a third baseman. Dominic Smith hooks one foul. Suarez really blossoming into a cornerstone type player for the Reds in this second half. He's been incredible with the bat this month, the glove. The Reds don't have to worry too much about what their offense is going to look like. Their pitching has been horrendous this year, although it's been okay in this series. Really, for the last few weeks, it's been better. Nice pitch to get Smith out in front.
The Reds need a win today to have their first winning month of the season.
He's at .589 ERA. That is unsightly, Ron.
Well, they're going to have to fix that. I know they have some great young arms, but they're not ready yet.
Romano with 3 straight quality starts. Stevenson's won his last 2 starts. No Red has won 3 straight appearances all season. Stevenson trying to become the first today.
Stevenson won his first 2 starts as a major leaguer, his last 2, and in between he's 0-7 with a 7 ERA.
There goes the runner from first. Darno took off with the pitch. Still a ball and 2 strikes on Smith. Stevenson was the first high school pitcher drafted by the Reds in 7 years when they took him in 2011. First one since Homer Bailey. He was drafted in 04. There's high hopes for Stevenson. He was the 27th pick overall. Smith swings and misses, and the Mets leave a man on third. They do get 1 home in this top of the 3rd inning. That's a 2-2 tie after 2.5. Darno has changed his batting stance, and we have some pictures to prove it.
Yeah, our guys in the truck are so good. This is his April stance, pretty straight up, off the plate away. Look at his feet, parallel to the plate. And now today, this afternoon, completely open, crouched a little more, both eyes on the pitchers instead of April when he only had one eye on the pitcher. So radical stance change for Mr. Darno.
And I don't think it's working necessarily. His OPS in April is on base plus slugging .833. As Billy Hamilton's on to start this bottom of the third inning with a sharp single to center. D'Arnaud's OPS in August .532. It's a 300-point difference going the wrong way.
A lot of first pitch hitting today. And this one right straight through the box over the head of DeGrom. Boy, if Hamilton could get on base more, he'd be one of the elite players in the game.
His on base percentage among the worst in the major leagues. But he leads the league in stolen bases. He has 54 of them.
He's got the oven mitt on. Let's see what kind of lead he gets.
It is an oven mitt.
It is.
It's getting a big lead too.
See, DeGrom just held the baseball. That's a sign from the bench. They'll give it to you. You just hold it until they call timeout. Someone will call timeout. And now if he wants, he can quick pitch to home. It's set at the belt and go. Always try to give a good base stealer a different look each and every time.
Trying to bunt. Peraza puts it in foul territory.
There's really no reason to bunt if you're the second place hitter. We've seen a lot of, I don't know how else to put it, bonehead play in this series. You have a guy that can steal second base. Just take a couple of pitches. No reason to have to bunt him over.
You see Hamilton by a fairly wide margin over D. Gordon. Trey Turner's been hurt.
Plus you're in a ballpark where, you know, the score at the end of the game could be 10-8.
Sure.
I mean,
it's not very good court awareness from Peraza. Calls time and was granted it. D'Arnaud and DeGrom seem a little miffed that it was granted so late.
It's too late by Jerry Meals to call time. The ball was on its way. Meals behind the plate. Culpa, Chris Conroy, and Ryan Blakeney on third base.
Jerry Meals, the veteran. Runner goes. D'Arnaud's throw, not even close. Number 55 for Billy Hamilton.
Well, I found it unusual that DeGrom didn't throw one pickoff throw over there, and the lead just got bigger and bigger for Hamilton. And he started that slide about 15 feet short of the base, but still got there because he's had so much speed.
Now Peraza will try to get him over. DeGrom ahead in the count, though. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Career steal number 239 for Billy Hamilton. There was a Billy Hamilton that played for the Phillies more than 100 years ago. On this date in 1894, he had 7 steals in a game.
Well, you have to watch out for Hamilton trying to steal third base also.
Peraza, you see him trying to dump that ball to the right side and move Hamilton over. Peraza with Votto on deck. Peraza has all but lost his starting job between Scooter Gennett's big year, the way Cozart continues to play. But Cozart's a free agent, so Peraza might stick around. DeGrom looks back to second.
Well, Rosario, the rookie's in charge of keeping Hamilton close. What you want to do is just stand right behind him, and you want to tap your glove. You want to fake to second base a couple of times. You want to sometimes get back, yell to him, and he's trying to do that now.
At the very least, Rosario keeping Hamilton relatively close to second, although with Votto and Suarez coming up, I think Hamilton will try to take off here. Peraza doing everything he can to try to hit the ball to the right side. And on a pitch that seemed tough to hit that way, able to fight it off. Peraza was originally an Atlanta Brave. Has not shown much power in his young career. He ropes this ball, but it's foul.
That was a changeup from DeGrom, which is a surprising pitch against a hitter like Peraza. To me, a hitter who's not that strong of a hitter, you never want to throw them a changeup because you're really playing into making them a better hitter, in my opinion.
DeGrom struck out Peraza with a high fastball in the first inning. Didn't get that one high enough, and now Peraza continues this at bat.
Well, interesting so far this afternoon. We're seeing less swing and misses off the pitches from Jake DeGrom, so doesn't have his A game yet.
This will be the 9th pitch of this at bat to Peraza. And there will be a 10th. The end game for Peraza here is just to move over Hamilton, but he's driving up the pitch count for DeGrom, and that's a good thing for the Reds too. Leadoff single and a steal has put Billy Hamilton in scoring position. There's a good breaking ball from DeGrom. He froze Peraza, and he gets strike 3 called.
You know, Votto last night choking up against Montero, who was awfully tough all night long. And then today, it's almost like he's choked up more. He has maybe, you know, 1 more inch on the bat, really in a defensive kind of mode against DeGrom.
It's amazing to see, considering the power that he's still able to produce. He's got 33 home runs this year. Goes the other way. Rosario at the backhand goes to third, and the throw gets away. Trying to score is Hamilton. He'll make it. Votto goes to second on the air by Rosario.
Well, poor choice here. What Rosario has to do, the play's right in front of him. It was going to be a tough play on Hamilton anyways, even with a good throw. Just take the out at first base. 2 out with Hamilton on third base. Take the out at first to Votto. Instead, produces a run.
Billy Hamilton's speed comes into play. The Reds take the lead back.
Errors of omission, errors of commission, and that just, you have to know the situation there. With 1 out, you get 2 outs. Votto at first base, and DeGrom can work out of the problem.
Now Suarez. Suarez has reached base nearly 50% of the time in August.
You have to remember who the runners are. Hamilton just had so much speed. Now he's got it, but look where Cabrera is. Cabrera has not, he's backing up, so he's moving. Rosario's moving. Hamilton at a quick pace. Just a more difficult play.
Seemed too like Rosario had some trouble getting the grip on the baseball.
Well, he tried to hurry his throw. Once he saw it, you know, for a normal base runner, that would have been an easy play at third, but not for Hamilton.
Another hit for Suarez. This guy won't stop. Votto able to get to third. Nimmo thought about maybe chucking one over there to see if he could nab Votto. Instead, flips it back toward the infield. And Suarez with his second hit of the day.
Again, DeGrom not missing as many bats today. And this one a bullet from Suarez, who's just having about as good an August as anyone in the game. Votto on second base when that ball was hit started to go back to second base, which I found unusual, but Joey can be that kind of player.
Saw Votto dive back into second base last night when there was no chance at a pickoff attempt. Nobody even looking at him. Here's Scooter Gennett, a home run his first time. You talked about DeGrom's Cy Young candidacy earlier and that he was just off the top tier when it came to that. It's been starts like this, just a handful of them that have been sprinkled in that have jacked his numbers up.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Wayne. You know, every pitcher would love to do this, but if you could take away 3 or 4 starts from DeGrom this season, his numbers would be off the charts, but you can't. And so he lives with an ERA in the 3s when it should probably be in the mid-2s.
Gets Gennett to hit a fly ball. See if it's deep enough to score Votto. Nimmo makes the catch. Votto will not tag. And Nimmo with a great throw to keep Votto right at third.
Well, there's nothing he could do. He had to catch it on that side of his body because he was going to left center. The throw, though, was right on the plate. Votto would have had no chance. Still better to hit the cutoff guy, because if Suarez was doing the right thing at first base, he might have been able to tag up on that throw.
DeGrom will try to limit the damage here at the bottom of the third with Scott Schebler at the plate. Schebler had 5 RBIs in the game Tuesday. Tied a career high for him. He's batting just over .350 in his last 10 games. Of course, Jacob DeGrom has been the ace of the staff for the Mets this year. That's been pretty clear. Mets are 16-10 in DeGrom's 26 starts this year. Overall, 24% of the team's victories have come from Jacob DeGrom. That's hit hard into the gap. Lagares makes the catch. Side retired, and Jacob DeGrom does limit the damage. The error brings home the go-ahead run for the Reds, but that was all. Lagares begins the 4th inning with the Mets trailing again. Second time they've been behind in this one. Big curveball from Stevenson for a strike. Lagares struck out his first time, continues to be 0 for this series. 0 for 8. Travis Tyrone is 0 for 10 in his major league career. He's on deck.
You want to get that hit early so you can take the pressure off. You know, you get the double-digit at-bats, you start to press a little bit.
Half of them have resulted in strikeouts. Not giving himself too much of a chance. Lagares didn't have much of a chance there against Stevenson. Second time Lagares has struck out. See Ahmed Rosario, and what happened between innings? A little conversation with Dick Scott.
Well, Dick Scott really talking about the arm angle. He'd rather see Rosario, you know, drop down and throw the ball to third base. I don't even agree with that assessment. I think really what he should have told him is that take the out at first base, but.
There's Rosario's error that allowed Billy Hamilton to score the go-ahead run. Ruled an unearned run. I guess the scorer believes that Hamilton should have been out at third. Otherwise, if you give him third base on the play, he would have scored on the Suarez base hits, and that would have made the run earned. So Jacob deGrom, hat tip to the official score. It's 2-0 on Tyrone. Let's see if he can get around on one. Can't even recall a time where Tyrone's hit a ball into the outfield really yet. Some ground outs, some pop-ups, and the 5 strikeouts. And there's the first hit for Travis Tyrone. It's going to be extra bases as Kivlahan has some trouble with it in the corner. And Tyrone, his first big league knock, is a double.
Well, there's nothing like it. You'll always remember your first double here for Tyrone. And his good buddy Matt Reynolds has got the baseball. And a big whoo from Tyrone on second base. 2-0 fastball right down the middle. Turns on it. Let's go the bat with one hand and hits so sharply. No chance for Suarez.
Now deGrom takes a hack at the first pitch. Tyrone had 32 doubles at AAA this year. That was the 4th most in the PCL.
Sorry, I was busy watching a foul ball that went and a guy missed it and it hit his girlfriend. I mean, that's the end of that relationship.
deGrom, it's a ground ball Jeanette's way. Tyrone goes to third with 2 down. They're your team. Take them with you. Watch every SNY Mets game on the go on any device all season long with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just download the NBC Sports app or visit SNY.TV. Your new home for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. See if Reyes can get on base again. He's done so twice to start this game, a double and a walk. He's reached and now 16 of his last 27 plate appearances. He's got that on base percentage above 300 now. A slow climb to respectable numbers for Reyes after that incredibly dull start to the year. Spectrum high-speed pitch so far today. A couple of hard throwers hitting 95 between deGrom and Stevenson. We've seen both of these guys be able to crank it up into the high 90s. Stevenson can touch 99. So can DeGrom. Count even now on Jose Reyes. Ground ball. Scooter Gennett with the pickup, and Jose Reyes strands the go-ahead run, the tying run rather, at third base. The Reds have a 1-run lead after 3.5. Mets are down by a run against the Reds. Patrick Kivlehan swings through an off-speed pitch from Jacob deGrom. Kivlehan walked his first time. New Jersey native, former Rutgers football star. Played 1 year of baseball there and got himself drafted. We talked earlier about the Players Weekend and the different nicknames on the jerseys. Well, Kivlehan put "Believe" on his as a tribute to his former Rutgers teammate Eric LeGrand.
Oh, that's great.
Kivlehan said nobody really has a nickname for him, so he decided to pay tribute to LeGrand, who has done so much for spinal cord injuries and awareness with regard to that ever since the horrific injury he suffered on the football field. DeGrom goes to a full count. Darno almost had to make a full leap to keep that ball in front.
There's a Rutgers shirt.
And a Sicilian. Can't beat this guy. Full count on Kivlehan. College football season starting up this weekend.
You know your college football?
I broadcast some of it, so I know those. I know what I know for that.
You definitely know the teams you're going to be covering.
That's right. Kivlehan strikes out. Another breaking ball from deGrom. That's the 4th strikeout of the day. DeGrom's had 1 in each inning. Cincinnati, I did see the Keebler Elves running around here at some point. All the chili skyline and such. Had some of that in the press room today. Did you have some?
No, come on.
What do you mean? Rain Man was filmed here.
While I was here, I went to the Taft Art Museum, which is pretty cool, and then the tribute museum to the Underground Railroad.
I bet
Rain
Man
right next to the ballpark.
I bet Rain Man could tell us exactly how many noodles are in each cup of Skyline chili.
That's right. While he's watching Wapner.
We were talking about Judge Judy in the clubhouse before the game today. All the money she makes doing that show. Jerry Blevins couldn't believe it. Stuart Turner, the batter. Makes like $50 million.
She's a brand, Wayne. All the other shows have come after her. You know, what's great is Jerry really has been one of the Mets that is trying to spearhead getting out in the Houston area tomorrow and giving of their time and trying to do something to help the victims of Harvey.
And the players trying to organize it as much as they can. See if they're able to do something tomorrow. They've made it very clear they don't want any cameras, not there for doing any publicity. This is just to help out the area. And if you want to help, youcaring.com/MLB supports for Hurricane Harvey victims. Mets will see it firsthand this weekend in Houston.
Well, you have a lot of shelters where a lot of young kids have been displaced, so that might be a good start for Major League Baseball players to pay a visit to those kids and try to lift their spirits.
We've talked about Jay Bruce's contributions to his hometown of Beaumont. He's up to $66,000 raised. This ball 4 to Turner. Second walk issued by DeGrom. It comes in front of the pitcher, Robert Stevenson. You see what J.J. Watt's doing, the Houston Texans defensive end. He's raised more than $10 million just on Twitter.
Well, he set his goal at $1 million, and he's had to keep raising it. Then he went to 5, 6, 7, now through 10. Shows you his place in the Houston community.
Stevenson bunts foul. All these terrible images that we've seen coming out of Houston. And with that, Ron, at least you are seeing people come together, donating their time, donating their money, and trying to help as much as they can.
It's amazing what people have done. I think also, and learning from Katrina, is that it's not only now, it's not only your charitable donations now, but these folks are going to need you 6 months, a year and a half from now, and when they're still trying to kind of dig themselves out of this awful catastrophe.
Yeah, it's going to be a long way out for all the victims down there as Stevenson does get the bunt down. DeGrom retires him for the second out. Stuart Turner now in scoring position with Billy Hamilton coming up.
Good bunt by Stevenson. Very difficult to bunt off DeGrom. Hard thrower. Throws a lot of balls up in the strike zone. He caught a breaking ball, though, that he got off the end of the bat, and it killed it perfectly. Yeah, a little slider. And watch it. He catches it right off the end of the bat. So what that does is it just kills the ball so it doesn't go out there too firm so the first baseman can make the play.
Billy Hamilton created a run pretty much by himself in the third inning. Singled, stole second. He's trying to get to third on a ground ball. Ahmed Rosario threw it away. Hamilton scored. Reds also have a 2-run homer from Scooter Gennett. DeGrom trying to reach a new career high in wins and strikeouts today. Also has some other career highs. Walks, wild pitches, home runs allowed, and ERA. So it's been an unusual season for DeGrom in the sense that some great things have happened. He has looked amazing in many of his starts, and then there's been that bunch haven't been so good, including a couple recently before he had that win against Washington. DeGrom had allowed 10 runs in a span of 2 starts. Look at the Porsche leaderboard as we take a look at the strikeout per 9 innings leaders. In the National League, DeGrom is third. Max Scherzer leading the way.
What I've seen from DeGrom this year, and when he has these kind of iffy games, is that his mechanics kind of blow up on him during the game.
Hamilton pops up. Ahmed Rosario puts it away. And the Reds strand a man in scoring position to end the fourth. Still a 3-2 game. One way or the other. Ahmed Rosario starts the fifth. Big swing on that slider. One thing about the Mets lineup right now, Ron, you get to 2, 3, and 4. This is supposed to be the meat of the order, the scary time for a pitcher, but you know, Rosario and Nimmo and even Cabrera can hit pretty much anywhere in the lineup that's constructed the way it is right now.
Well, with Wilmer having the day off, you know, he's been one of the best bats in the lineup. So he having the day off kind of weakens that lineup a little bit. Rosario has to move up.
Playable for Schebler, and there's one down here in the fifth. The Mets certainly believe that Rosario will be a more top of the order type hitter down the road, if not in the 2-hole, maybe in the leadoff spot if that on base percentage rises as he goes on. There's Cabrera. He's had a good day, an RBI in the first, singled his last time. Mets will likely get Gavin Cecchini into more games once the calendar flips. I'm sure we'll see Cecchini on Saturday. I know we'll see Matt Harvey on Saturday. He'll come off the disabled list to pitch game 1 of the day-night doubleheader against the Astros.
Said he's ready to go. They look like they're going to hold him to about 80-85 pitches.
Mets will have Tommy Milone in the holster after Harvey. There'll be Seth Lugo in the nightcap on Saturday, and then back to Chris Flexen Sunday, coming off a rough start here in Cincinnati a couple of days ago. Astros not really fighting anymore for the division title, but all of a sudden the Cleveland Indians are sneaking up on them for that #1 seed in the American League. And the Red Sox not far behind either.
Well, they haven't played well since Carlos Correa went down with the hurt wrist or hand, and he's due to come back maybe on Sunday. So the Mets might get a peek at one of the best young players in the game.
The Astros have been up 10 or more games in the AL West for 2 or 3 months now. As Cabrera whiffs a good slider from Stevenson, down and in.
Well, we can see the strikeouts from Stevenson. That's 6 now for him this afternoon. 11 in his last start.
He had 9 when he faced the Mets a year ago. Here's Brandon Nimmo, had a base hit that rocketed off the hip of Stevenson in the 3rd inning. Brought home Reyes, came off the bat at 101 miles per hour.
Whoa.
The Mets have not hit a home run in this series. National League leaders in home runs. A franchise record on the road. They haven't hit one here in Cincinnati. Nimmo had the Mets' last homer on Sunday night in Washington. And the Reds, of course, give up more homers than any team in the major leagues. Last year, they gave up more than any team in history. They allowed 258 this year at 215. Still kind of on pace to reach last year's record.
I think there's only been 6 games this year in this ballpark where neither team has hit a homer. I mean, this is a place that 2.5 or more home runs are hit usually per game.
And the history of Great American Ballpark, only 104 homerless games spanning 15 seasons. Doesn't happen often. It happened yesterday. So far, the Mets have not hit one yet in the entire series. Scooter Gennett has one today, and that gave the Reds the lead in the 2nd. It's tied it in the top of the 3rd, but the Reds got the lead back on an unearned run in the bottom half. Brandon Nimmo strikes out Robert Stevenson, bearing that slider down and in to a couple of left-handed batters here in the 5th, and the Reds maintain a 1-run lead. Griffey Sr. and Jr. playing on the same team August 31st, 1990 as Seattle Mariners. 2 weeks later, they would hit back-to-back home runs together.
Senior was 40, Junior was 20.
The story went that Senior was actually a Red not too long before that, and was given a short amount of time to either accept a release, go on the DL, or retire. So he wanted to go to Seattle to play with Junior. Ended up retiring, then had to unretire because he found out he had to wait 60 days to sign with a new team. Ended up with the Seattle Mariners, but of course Ken Griffey Jr. born right here and raised in Cincinnati. Peraza lines a base hit the other way and a man on for Joey Votto. A rich history of the Reds, and some of those great Reds played for the team in the city they grew up in. Barry Larkin from Cincinnati, Pete Rose, of course, along with Griffey, and the late Jim Bunning, great senator in the state of Kentucky.
Yeah, just died this year. Still the only person to be elected to the United States Senate and also be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Perfect game. No hitter. Father's Day in 1964 at Shea Stadium.
So Andrew Benintendi on that list, making waves with the Red Sox now, and Dave Parker.
I think I was right when I first said it. It was a perfect game. I changed it to a no-hitter. I didn't have confidence in my statement. I should have stayed with it.
Amos Otis all over again.
Yeah.
Runner goes, and Votto slips one to left, but Nimmo makes the catch. Peraza's going to have to hustle back to first with one out. So the Reds put up a video on their Twitter the other day with Dave Parker hanging out with Billy Hamilton and Philip Ervin. Dave Parker telling some old baseball stories.
He was, for more than a short time, the best player in baseball. 6'6", 250 pounds, could run, had as good an arm as anyone in right field, and could rake.
Eugenio Suarez with 2 hits in this game. See, Suarez keeps his hands pretty high. Not quite Julio Franco high, but he's up there. Does that take away the inside pitch for him at all?
You know what it reminds me of? A little bit of Edgar Martinez. His stance was almost identical to Suarez. Yeah, I would think you would have a hole right at his hands. He's a good breaking ball hitter, and that's why they're trying to go in now.
Runner goes. Throw down from d'Arnaud, and Peraza has a stolen base.
A good jump from Peraza, easily safe at second base. You know, DeGrom really hasn't thrown over to first base very often, and the Reds are starting to take advantage of that.
Well, opponents have had success on the bases against DeGrom recently. Now 2-2 on Suarez, but opponents with 16 steals in their last 17 tries against DeGrom. Besides not throwing over, are you noticing anything that's allowing that to happen?
Well, you know, the Mets catchers have had an inability to throw out runners most of the season, unless Rene Rivera was behind the plate. That's part of it. But I also think that teams, because of DeGrom and how good he is, it's hard to bunch hits. So you have to try to steal bases, try to steal some runs.
Suarez tied up on that inside pitch. That's the second out as Peraza halts at second base with Scooter Gennett coming up. 2-run homer for Gennett. Part of the difference in this game. You mentioned Rene Rivera. DeGrom actually with a much better ERA this season when d'Arnaud has caught him. His ERA below 3 with d'Arnaud behind the plate. Around 4.5 when Rene Rivera caught him. Now Rivera on the Cubs and Kevin Plawecki, the Mets' second catcher. Quite a year for Jeanette. 80 RBIs now. The Brewers might be thinking about their decision to let him go. They got Neil Walker now, but they wouldn't have had to make that move had they kept Jeanette and he put up these kinds of numbers for them. They thought Jonathan Villar would be the bee's knees at second base. There's another drive off the bat of Jeanette. This one bounces off the wall and right. It scores Peraza. Jeanette another RBI, his third of the day, and the Reds extend their lead.
I think that was a changeup from DeGrom. Contact right out in front, and then turns that left hand over. Classic, beautiful swing there from Jeanette. And luckily that ball stayed in the ballpark.
Scott Schebler gets an intentional walk, so the Mets will deal with Kivlehan. 2 ropes off the bat of Jeanette. One that snuck over the fence in right center, and this one that banged right off it. Kivlehan struck out his last time. He walked in the second. So far, this has been the only inning when DeGrom hasn't had a strikeout. His next one will give him a new career high. He's up to 205 for the year. He's got Kivlehan set up for 0-2.
Kivlehan has been unable to catch up with that high fastball from DeGrom.
Kivlehan, it's a high drive. Nimmo trying to track it down. He'll get there. Lagares will too. And it's Lagares who makes the catch to end the inning. Scooter Jeanette has had DeGrom's number today. 3 RBIs for Jeanette. And Cincinnati now with a 4-2 lead after 5. Mets run scored by Jose Reyes in this one. Travis Tyrone has his first major league hit. He doubled his last time. Could see Tyrone bat. He's due up fourth in this sixth inning. Travis d'Arnaud has a base hit on a swing and a miss to start the sixth. d'Arnaud with only one home run since July 1st. Michael Lorenzen starting to warm up in the Reds bullpen. 80 pitches for Stevenson. Some high cheese from Stevenson there as d'Arnaud had to slip out of the way. Did you feel it necessary as a pitcher to zap one up and in?
I don't think he was trying there. The catcher was kind of sitting away. I think he just doesn't have the control sometimes to throw the ball in. But if a guy was getting, real good swings, and I felt as though I would throw a quality pitch on the outside corner that he would foul back or get a base hit, I would remember that for the next time he was up, and then I'd zing one under his chin.
d'Arnaud doesn't bite at the off-speed offering from Stevenson. He works a full count.
My theory is, as they see Familia getting up, is that today's player has a more difficult time of getting out of the way because they have all that armor on, so they like to stay in there as long as they can. In my day, if you threw under someone's chin, they were out of there.
d'Arnaud draws the leadoff walk. We go to Michelle Yu in the studio for Game Break, brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealers. All right, Michelle, thank you very much. Dominic Smith bats with the leadoff man on in this sixth inning. d'Arnaud's been on base a couple of times. Smith couldn't hold his swing. We're seeing reports of a potential August 31st trade coming through, a big one according to Ken Rosenthal. He has the Angels picking up Justin Upton from the Tigers.
That's huge. That'll give them some kind of outfield and some pop down the stretch.
The Angels feel like they have a chance in the American League wild card. Certainly a lot of teams do, but the Angels only one game out. Baltimore with their big winning streak is close now. You notice at the top the Yankees have had the first wild card in lock for a while. They're only a game up on the Twins now and only 2 games ahead of the Angels.
Yeah, the Indians took care of the Yankees this last couple of days.
If the Yankees aren't careful, they might fall out of this thing altogether. As far as divisional races go, the AL East, kinda. The Red Sox up at 5.5. Cubs 3.5 in the NL Central over the Brewers. Cubs have been playing well, though, lately. Wild card races might be it. Smith hits what could be a double play ball, and the Reds turn it for 2 outs here in the 6th.
Is that a 5-6-3, or how do we score that?
It was Suarez who started the double play. Peraza, the shortstop, took the throw from the third baseman. So one of those quirky 5-6-3 double plays in the era of the shift.
For all the Tigers, Verlander's had a good year, but Justin Upton has had a fantastic year. 28 home runs, 94 RBI.
Well, he's got that big contract. He has roughly 4 years, $88 million left on his deal, but he also has an opt-out after this season in a fairly weak free agent class. You wonder if he won't try to test the market again.
Well, if he does, he'd probably use as a comparable Yoenis Cespedes if he wants that kind of contract.
4 and 110. Cespedes was the only 9-figure free agent last winter. If he gets it, it'll be an extra $20 million. There you go.
Seed money.
Lagares puts the ball in play for the first time, but Jose Peraza, the low throw, able to retire Lagares. And the Mets in the top of the 6th. Leadoff walk leads to nothing. Still 4-2. Jacob deGrom has allowed 4 runs on 6 hits so far. Stuart Turner, a new dad. He missed last weekend series on paternity leave. Now Tucker Barnhart heads to paternity leave. Chad Wallach is the backup catcher for the Reds today. That is the son of Tim Wallach, former big league third baseman, now a major league coach.
Bench coach for Don Mattingly for the Miami Marlins.
Soft ground ball off the bat of Turner as Reyes throws him out. 4 players since 1931 to win the NL MVP as a second baseman. Our Verizon trivia answer: Frankie Frisch, Jackie Robinson, Joe Morgan twice, and Ryne Sandberg in 1984. Pretty good second baseman on that list.
Yeah, I missed Frankie. Joe Morgan was the first hitter I ever faced in the major leagues. So every time I see him, and we ended up, when I played for the Oakland A's, ended up living about 4 or 5 houses away from each other. Used to see him all the time on the golf course.
So you faced Joe Morgan, and how did that go for Joe?
Not good for Joe, good for me. And then the second hitter was Mr. Rose. This was the 1983 Phillies, and the third one was Mike Schmidt. So that's quite a start to a career. Somehow got through them with a strikeout of Morgan, a strikeout of Rose, and I threw the most hellacious curveball to Schmidt 0-2, and he hit a rocket one-hopper to the shortstop for an out.
Zach Cozart is batting for Stevenson. So you must have thought this was pretty easy. You got 3 guys who are pretty much Hall of Famers. We know why Rose is there, but a Hall of Fame caliber player, and you get them all out.
Sometimes it's good to be young and dumb and think that you know, that you're at the top of your game. That '83 Phillies team would go on to the World Series. They'd lose to the Orioles.
Yeah, they borrowed a bunch of players from the Big Red Machine to have some success there in the early 80s.
Tony Perez was on that team.
Couple of Reds pennants. World champions of baseball half a dozen times. As Cozart swings through the DeGrom slider. Might be the best DeGrom slider we've seen today. It's also a new career high, 206th strikeout for DeGrom this year.
Well, it seems like he's finally found that little cutting fastball that he throws to the right-handers. Is it a little too late here, though, after giving up 4 runs?
A pretty good day for Robert Stevenson, who's out after 6 innings. As Hamilton bunts. Right in front of home plate, though. D'Arnaud with the easy toss. And Jacob deGrom with his first 1-2-3 inning since the first. Mets will go to work in the 7th. There's Joe Morgan. Much 4-2 Cincinnati in the 7th. Travis Tyrone coming off his first major league hit. He doubled in the 4th. Michael Lorenzen, the new pitcher, delivers a strike.
Well, they're very careful with their young pitchers. So Stevenson out after a nice outing through 6 innings, and Lorenzen a big part of that bullpen. 8 wins out of that bullpen.
He's had a tough second half. His ERA 6.94 since the All-Star break. It was 2.93 before it. See if the Mets can take advantage of Lorenzen having a poor couple of months. Good breaking ball there to get ahead of Tyrone. Lorenzen's made 1 career start, as you see Gavin Cecchini on deck. It was against the Mets. June of 2015 was that suspended game. The Mets had to finish it the next day, and then Steven Matz made his major league debut in the regularly scheduled game against Cincinnati that weekend.
What a day that was for Matz, right? 3 hits, 4 RBI, and a win.
Brandon Phillips hit a home run, and the first batter that Matz faced.
That's right.
Not quite the Joe Morgan strikeout that you had, but then Matz settled in, looked pretty good the rest of the day. Tyrone way out in front on that 3-2 pitch. Marco Lorenzen comes in with a strikeout. Get an in-depth preview of tonight's final Jets preseason matchup against the Eagles. Plus, the latest on the Matt Forte trade rumors on the JetsBlog.com, featured on SNY.TV. Gavin Cecchini will bat for DeGrom. Six innings done for DeGrom, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, so we'll go down as a quality start if you're keeping track of that. The 5 strikeouts, all he needed for a new career high today, up to 206 on the season. Little blooper, and Cecchini gets it to fall in just out of the reach of Jose Peraza. Good effort by Peraza into the outfield, but just could not haul in the catch.
Lorenzen with the breaking ball off the end of the bat from Cecchini. I thought Peraza was going to have a chance to make that. He was tracking, but just over his outstretched glove.
So Cecchini gets the pinch hit. First time he's been able to get a pinch hit in 4 tries this year. And now Jose Reyes, who has scored both Mets runs in this game. Back to the top of the order with Cecchini aboard. That's Votto to second for 1. That's all they'll get. Reyes aboard, 2 down now in the inning.
We've seen that from Votto twice. He loves throwing the ball around the infield, and this is a nice play to get Cecchini at second base. Comes and gets it. Quick release. Right on time. You know, if you're Cecchini, you try to run as close as you can to that cutout where the dirt meets the grass. Make it a little tougher for the throw from Votto.
Ahmed Rosario bats with Reyes aboard and 2 outs. Our trivia answer last inning: we missed a second base National League MVP Jeff Kent in 2000.
How can that happen?
Too busy waxing on about Joe Morgan winning it twice. Forgot about Jeff Kent. Greg in the truck sets the blame interns. That's not nice.
Well, no,
do that.
That's exactly what you do.
Oh, okay, great.
Oh, yeah.
All right, great. Hey, I'm in.
The buck doesn't stop here in this booth. It never does. Never reaches here.
2 bouncer for Scooter Jeanette. Rosario hustling down, but he's out. And the side retired. Mets got the pinch hit from Cecchini, but that was all. Stretch time in Cincinnati. Best Interests by Spectrum. Hey Mets fans, join America's fastest growing TV, internet, and voice provider. Get the Spectrum Triple Play today. And by Bud Light, famous among friends. Is that a famous truck we saw out there?
That was quite a shot, I'll tell you that, as Familia comes into the game. His inning and 2/3 work the other night was his best since coming back. Third appearance so far since coming back.
Jose Peraza starts the 7th against Familia. Took something off there to get the swing and miss from Peraza. It's about as slow pitch as I've ever seen Familia throw, I think. Terry Collins has stated that he will get Familia back into the high leverage situations as the final month goes on. We'll see Familia, if not setting up for A.J. Ramos, maybe even back into that closer's role where he's been so good for the Mets the last couple of years.
Well, Ramos was good last night, wasn't he?
Fantastic to finish it off. Ramos 6 for 6 in saves as a Met. Ahmed Rosario, good scoop and throw in one motion there. We've seen him pat the mid a couple of times and cost him a base. Peraza out by plenty as People's United Bank. Today's starters, Jacob deGrom. It's okay, but gave up a couple of smashes to Scooter Gennett. One a home run, one a double. Robert Stevenson turning in another quality start for the Reds. They've had nothing but in this series. Here's Votto. Hitless in this game. Haven't seen him draw a walk yet in this one. He was intentionally walked yesterday. Joey Votto has 43 more walks than strikeouts. Only 3 qualified hitters have more walks than strikeouts. Buster Posey by 1, Justin Turner by 8, Votto by 43. And there's a long drive off the bat of Joey Votto. Forget about this one. Way up the bleachers in right field. Home run number 34 for Votto. And it's 5-2 Cincinnati.
You know, Joey Votto, as soon as he hit that home run, there's a young man there that we're showing was in the front row, and Votto just looked right at him, ran around the bases, and then gave him a high five after that home run.
Broken bat. Rosario tracks it down, pats the mitt, and still has time to get Suarez.
I mean, just straight to him. High five for the young man in the front row against that screen. Nice gesture there by Joey Votto.
Now that kid's gonna get an incredible souvenir.
Wow, the home run bat.
One of the game's great players. And for all his quirks, a super guy, Joey Votto, making that kid's day. Jerry's Familia will come out of the game after facing 3 hitters, giving up a home run to Votto. As the Mets dip back into their bullpen, now trailing by 3. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon as Jerry Blevins enters for the Mets. Joey Votto making a new friend here in Cincinnati.
Way to go.
Votto, the first he'd allowed since last year's wild card game.
See that ball, the two-seamer coming off, supposed to be inside, right down the middle of the plate. That's about as far as you can hit him.
Now Votto's giving the jersey. This kid's going to need a suitcase to bring everything home. Jerry Blevins, the new Mets pitcher, facing Scooter Gennett, who's had a big day.
I think you and I both found it unusual that Familia wasn't left in to finish the inning. That's Jerry's numbers for the year. Perfect 6-0.
Well, Familia's velocity was way down.
Yeah, you mentioned it on the first pitch slider, which was 82 miles an hour, and then he never threw a fastball over 93. Usually he sits 4 or 5 miles an hour faster than that.
He was at 92 on the Votto homer. So hopefully for Familia, just a bump in the road and not something more serious causing that velocity dip. Blevins always has that slow breaking ball for you. Blevins 6-0 this year, just the 6th Mets reliever to ever start a season 6-0.
Here's a side swing from Votto. What he's done is just gotten himself to a point where he has such a short, powerful stroke, only swings at strikes, and this is the result. Halfway up the bleachers.
Gennett cues it right in front of home plate. That ball went about 1.5 feet, and Travis d'Arnaud retires Gennett to win the inning. But Joey Votto cranks his 34th home run. And Joey Votto making that kid's day. First the high five, he wasn't done yet. How about a baseball bat to take home courtesy of Joey Votto? And one more. The Joey Votto Reds jersey on top of it. Fourth home run of the year, passing a jersey, a bat. Gave the kid a foul ball earlier today. As Asdrubal Cabrera looks at strike one to start the 8th against Michael Lorenzen. This Reds bullpen, they don't mind multiple innings out of their relievers. They do it a lot. Lorenzen worked a scoreless 7th inning. Lorenzen was a first-round pick out of Cal State Fullerton in 2013. Got to the big leagues pretty quickly as a starter. He may become a starter again. Brian Price hasn't ruled it out, but feels like Lorenzen is filling a big need in the back end of their bullpen, a much improved bullpen from a year ago.
Yeah, he's a great athlete. He went to Cal State Fullerton. He was an outfielder as well as a pitcher.
He's hit a couple of home runs as a big leaguer. One of them is immortalized in bronze. Hit a home run after the death of his father, his first game back. His wife's uncle carved a statue out of his swing follow-through. Made it out of clay, cast it in bronze, and gifted it to Michael Lorenzen. Lorenzen thought that was good enough for strike 3. Instead, it's a full count.
That was a good pitch. Fastball inside, two-seamer, comes back over the inside part of the plate. Could have been called.
And that one is called. Maybe a makeup. Home plate umpire Jerry Meals, the crew chief.
Boy, Wayne, I haven't heard that in forever. A makeup call by the umpire. It used to happen all the time. They missed a pitch, sometimes they'd give you one. I think Cabrera saw that for low because it certainly caught a lot of the plate.
So Cabrera, the first out, he's fanned twice. There's a look at Jerry Meals. He's only 5'8". He's actually one of the shortest umpires in the major leagues. Brandon Nimmo takes ball 1. I don't know if that has an impact on those pitches that are down to the zone, not being able to see over the catcher quite as well.
Well, I've always had the theory, and I've never thought about it with short umpires, but that with tall umpires, sometimes it's hard to get the low pitch. Lorenzen's from the Jake Arrieta school of getting prepared for games. Jacked up, isn't he? Like Arrieta? Looks like an everyday player.
Nimmo chops this one to the right side. Lorenzen able to scoot over quickly and receive the toss from Votto for the second out. Yeah, Michael Lorenzen's big dude.
Yeah, he's put together.
That's why he can hit homers. Don't see too many relievers hitting bombs. In fact, he had a pinch hit home run. It's the first by any major league pitcher in about 8 years. Micah Owings did it in 2009. He was a pretty good hitter.
Yeah, great hitter.
Here's d'Arnaud. One hit today for d'Arnaud. Mets have trailed since Billy Hamilton scored an unearned run in the 3rd inning. And we talked about the young man that Joey Votto was very generous toward after his home run last inning. That's Walter Herbert. 6 years old. He's part of the Make-A-Wish program. And Joey Votto helping fulfill those wishes today. For Walter, certainly has to be an incredible experience. Catch day game here in Cincinnati. See his favorite player hit a home run. It's funny to see Votto looking back toward him after he hit that ball off of Familia in the 7th.
Well, I think invariably what happens since the beginning of time is that when young people meet their favorite players, they'll invariably ask them to hit a home run for him that day.
d'Arnaud off the end of his bat. Jeanette makes the call and the catch. To end the 8th, Michael Lorenzen, a couple of scoreless frames out of the Reds bullpen. The Mets still down, heading to the bottom of the 8th. For a Mets game broadcast on the latest episode of the SNY.TV digital series, The Amazing Life, presented by Coca-Cola. Check it out now on SNY.TV/Coca-Cola. Hey, you guys do have some bizarre preparations.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we go through periods where we really decide our open over dinner. We went through a period there. We tried to make it easier on Keith by not telling him what he was going to talk about in the open. That made it better.
Jerry Blevins pumps in a strike to Scott Schebler to start the bottom of the 8th.
Our thought about the open is that during the open, people are putting their kids to bed or using the restroom or grabbing a cold one.
Yeah.
So let's get through the open. Minimal problems, and then do the game.
It's a good time to make your final preparations before the first pitch.
That's right.
Little bouncer foul off the bat of Schebler. The Mets in danger of losing a series finale for the 16th time in their last 18 series.
It's like the opposite. Remember those Cardinals in 2011 when Yadier Molina started that happy flight? So win the last game before they get on a flight. Well, the Mets has just been the opposite this year.
That was the year the Cardinals hit like 6,000 with runners in scoring position too. Jerry Blevins, third Mets pitcher today. Jacob deGrom, 6 innings, allowed 3 earned runs, 4 total. Familia, who had a dip in velocity today, faced 3 hitters, gave up a home run to Joey Votto, retired the other 2. Blevins has run the count full on Schebler. That's in the right field. A base hit for Schebler. Reds have their leadoff man on here in the 8th inning. Terry Collins is on his way out to make a pitching change. So Jerry Blevins facing 2 hitters. Got Jeanette out to end the 7th. And Schebler leads off the 8th inning with a single. So Mets go back to the pen. Here comes Eric Goodell in a 5-2 game. Dominated right-handed hitters, and he'll face one here in Patrick Kivlahan to begin his day in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Kivlahan and then Turner, the backup catcher today.
Good curveball from Goodell. Right, he's batting just 179 against the former UCLA Bruin. That one gets away from Darno. He doesn't know where it is. Now he does, and Schebler's at second.
Saw Eric after the wild pitch in the dirt there point at the baseball. That doesn't really ever help the catcher. When you're at the mound, it's right there. The catcher's like, right where? You know, need a little more info.
They should be more descriptive.
Yes.
Back up 2 steps to your left, something like that. Hit hard, but Cabrera sucks it up, looks the runner back to second. There's 1 out. On Saturday, the Mets will start their next series. No game tomorrow. The day-night doubleheader Saturday. Coverage begins at 1:30. The Mets will have Matt Harvey pitch game 1 of that doubleheader against the first-place Houston Astros. For more on them, here's Steve Gills.
Well, we know it's going to be a tough weekend for the Astros and the Mets, but one that is necessary. And certainly Jose Altuve, one of the team leaders, said that he's looking forward to getting back and saying that he would run through a wall for the people of Houston. He's that amped to play in front of them. It's tough to imagine, though, Altuve playing any better than he is right now. Leads the American League in so many major categories.
Stuart Turner gets into one, and that's gone. A home run for Stuart Turner, just the 2nd of his major league career. Hit one off of Travis Wood a few weeks ago. Now he takes Eric Goodell deep to give the Reds a 7-2 lead.
Well, this has been too much of a common occurrence for the Mets relievers. Come in and give up the long ball. Fastball is supposed to be away. Inches back over the middle of the plate. And Turner got all of it.
That was a no-doubter off the bat of Turner. He crushed that one. The Reds have hit 3 home runs in this game. The Mets still don't have any in the entire series. And now Adam Duvall, who homered on Tuesday, pinch hits for Michael Lorenzen. Steve has this uncanny ability to create action during the middle of his hits. Let's go to Steve again.
It's really incredible. I would guess about 65% of the time. But continuing with Jose Altuve, leads the AL in so many major categories. Notably, though, batting average, hits, and stolen bases. His batting average right now up to .355. That is 16 points higher than second place in the majors, Charlie Blackmon, and no one in Astros history has had a batting average that high since 1994, Jeff Bagwell. In terms of hits, he's looking to lead the AL in hits for the 4th consecutive season. No player in Major League history has done that. And with stolen bases, Altuve at 29 right now, needs one more for his 6th consecutive 30 stolen base season. Only one other Astro has done that. Cesar Cedeno did it in the 70s. So an incredible year continuing for Jose Altuve.
Today's actually the anniversary of when the Astros received Jeff Bagwell, the Hall of Famer, in trade.
That's right.
Boston Red Sox stung with them for a while.
Well, the Astros wanted Scott Cooper, who was the 3rd baseman for the Red Sox. And the Red Sox and Lou Gorman, who was the general manager at the time, weren't willing to give up Cooper, so they decided to just throw in Bagwell, who at the time was an infielder at AA New Britain, Connecticut.
There'll be a return to Houston for Terry Collins this weekend. He managed the Astros back in those mid to late 90s. Some really good teams. Bagwell Biggio days. Steve Finley. And the Astros pretty good now. You mentioned Carlos Correa might come back. You heard Steve's report on the incredible Jose Altuve. I'm going to ask him how he does it. He's like my size.
I thought you were going to ask Steve how he does it, or we're going to have to build a hole in his report every time he comes on.
Well, that's just unexplainable. I'm sure Altuve has a good answer. Best record in the American League for now. We mentioned that because you see what they have done since the All-Star break, the starters have not pitched well, that their lead for the #1 record in the AL has shortened. Jose Altuve putting together another MVP caliber season. They've been on the road for the last couple of weeks now. They're supposed to be home against the Texas Rangers this week, but displaced because of the hurricane. So they've been in Tampa. Just a quick homestand now. 3 games in 2 days. They go back on the road to Seattle after that. And you have to wonder, for the Astros, they got so far ahead, nobody in the AL West could really compete. When the calendar flips to October, they have to start playing intense baseball, something they really haven't had to do for months now.
Well, they've had a strange run of it after the loss of Correa. They've, you know, not hit as well as they did before. That makes sense when you take a big bat out of the lineup, but they also haven't pitched as well as they did a couple of seasons ago.
Dominic Smith bobbles, but he's right on top of the bag as he regains. May have had a chance for a double play had he fielded cleanly, but gets 1 out. Duvall goes to second. Now Peraza will back.
Well, I think that Dominic had intentions of tagging first and throwing the second for the tag play, but took his eye off the ball just ever so slightly, so only got the 1 out.
Peraza has a single and a run scored. Came home on Jeanette's double in the 5th. Jeanette 3 RBIs today. Stuart Turner with a home run in this 8th inning to put the Reds up by a handful. Joey Votto's homer today. The Mets got a couple of runs early, both scored by Jose Reyes. We've seen just in this series a Mets offense gets swallowed up by a pitching staff that has a horrendous ERA for the season, one of the worst ever in the National League if it holds through the end of the year. Into the alley as Tyrone cuts it down, and the inning is over. Reds get 2 more on the homer by Stuart Turner, and it's 7-2 into the 9th. Dominic Smith begins the 9th inning against the Reds closer Raisel Iglesias in a non-save situation.
24 saves for the right-hander. You know, he's given up 15 earned runs this year, but 2 have come on 2 swings of the bat. A grand slam by Corey Seager and a 3-run home run by Marcell Ozuna. Other than those 2 swings, his ERA is just above 1. He's had a good year.
High pop-up. Scott Schebler has out number 1. Geico Sports Night tonight at 10:30 as the Giants and Jets finish up preseason play. The U.S. Open continues. And highlights from UConn football on SNY. You mentioned that grand slam Iglesias gave up to Seager. That accounts for his only blown save of the year. Lagares hits that one hard. First hit of the series for Juan Lagares.
His fastball, first pitch hitting by Lagares. He jumps all over that fastball. Similar to the pitch that Turner hit for a home run. Meant to be away, ends up inside.
You mentioned the ERA for Iglesias sneaking above 2. As Tyrone takes ball 1. This is the first time this year his ERA has been above 2 at any point. He's had a very good season. He's been asked to get 4 and 6 out saves many times.
Well, I was always impressed with him when he was a starter. You know, he has many different arm angles, throws fastball and breaking ball from those arm angles, and is very sneaky fast.
He has 6 2-inning saves this year. That's the most in the major leagues in a long time. Billy Koch and Derek Lowe in 2000 each had 7. Billy Koch had that funny little beard.
That's right. Remember him.
Tyrone draws a walk. He's been on base twice. And Wilmer Flores will come off the bench to bat for Eric Goodell.
Well, we're stuck in that limbo land for closers when they have to pitch, when it's not a closing or save opportunity. Sometimes they struggle.
We've seen that happen to A.J. Ramos a couple of times already. Ramos is 6 for 6 in save chances as a Met, but he's had some issues, concentration problems in these types of spots, and Iglesias has allowed 2 Mets to reach, needing 2 more outs.
Well, you either are or become an adrenaline junkie once you become a closer. I think that's what it's all about.
Mets haven't lost a series against the Reds in quite some time. Of course, they haven't even lost a game against them until just recently, until 2 days ago. Mets swept the season series each of the last 2 seasons. Flores, the active team leader in home runs. Fouls that one back. He's hit 17. His 48 RBIs, the most on the current club. I mentioned it the other day. The Mets have 68% of their home run production for the year not here. They're in LA, they're in Milwaukee, Cleveland.
And all doing well in their new homes.
Runner goes from second. That's Lagares trying to steal third. As this ball's hit toward Hamilton, he couldn't see it for a moment. Now he does make the catch. Lagares has to scramble back, 2 down.
I mean, you know, I don't even know how to address it without getting angry. But, you know, when you see these kind of things, it just, to me, looks like individual selfish play of padding your stats late in the game when the team's allowing you to steal the base. That's what it feels like to me. Could be wrong.
Jose Reyes tried to steal third base with 2 outs yesterday and got caught by Tucker Barnhart. Actually tried twice yesterday with 2 outs. He made it the first time. Then Barnhart got him in the top of the 5th. Jose Reyes scored in the first inning each of the 3 games in this series, and from there it turned out to be 14-4 Reds on Tuesday, 2-0 Mets last night, and 7-2 Cincinnati in the 9th inning today. Now the Reds 1 strike away from earning a series victory against the Mets for the first time in 4 years. Mets were on a rampage against Cincinnati. 14 consecutive wins entering this series. They've won 20 of 23 entering today. The Mets all time here at Great American Ballpark have the best winning percentage of any National League team. They've gone 31-16 in this place. We know how this season has gone for the Mets. And for the Reds, trying to pull off 2 out of 3. And their first winning month in more than a year. Billy Hamilton waits, and the Cincinnati Reds take 2 out of 3 from the Mets, closing out this one in a 7-2 victory. Reds in 3 homers. Scooter Gennett had 3 RBIs today, and Jacob deGrom on the short end of it, as the Mets get dropped in a series finale for the 16th time in their last 18 series.
Fireworks provided all by the Reds today. Jose Reyes with a couple runs scored. Cabrera knocked in a run. Nimmo knocked in a run. And Jacob deGrom was not at his best today. Quality start, but needed more because the Mets offense is dried up.
Mr. Red on the run. He looks happy. And the Mets drop a 7-2 ball game. Our Jeep game summary. You see the numbers for deGrom. 3 earned runs in 6 innings, 4 total. Scooter Gennett took him deep, then doubled off the wall in right center field for another RBI. The Reds never looked back from there as they defeat the Mets here this afternoon, 7-2. New York Mets baseball on SNY brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka, America's original craft vodka. Visit us at titosvodka.com. Buy Bob's Discount Furniture. Shop in store or online at mybobs.com. And by Hyundai, there's no better time to buy a new Hyundai than now. See your local Hyundai dealer or visit buyhyundai.com. Back with more from Cincinnati as the Mets lose the finale here against the Reds, 7-2 the final.